The world's first computer vision web development course is here. The power of computer vision now goes into a browser. Hey everyone, this is Murtaza from the YouTube channel Murtaza's Workshop, which has now over 300,000 subscribers. Thanks to all of you. I have been working in the computer vision field for the past 9 years and have found one big problem. While it's easy to create computer vision projects, it is very difficult to bring them to the market as final products. Trust me, I have over 100 YouTube tutorials on computer vision with Python which are excellent to get started, but providing it as a solution to a company is extremely difficult and not effective. So now comes the solution. We have created the world's first computer vision web development course. Here you can create your own computer vision ideas and deploy it to the web as web apps. This will allow you to create solutions that can be shared with anyone with just a web URL. No installations, no running behind library versions. Whether you are creating a mass detector for a small company or a traffic analyzer for a governmental project, using computer vision web development, you can create and deploy your computer vision algorithms at ease while maintaining and scaling them. But what exactly can you do on the web? Well, pretty much everything. With the rapid advancement in the computer vision field, now it is possible to run simple computer vision algorithms to complicated custom object detectors right in the browser. This was not possible a few years back, but now the technology is here. But it can be very difficult and frustrating to get started. Here is where we got you covered. We have carefully designed this course to take you from the very basics of web development right up to the point where you can create your own computer vision web apps at ease. We have designed it for hobbyists, freelancers, and software firms that want to level up their computer vision services. Imagine providing an automated shirt size measurement to a clothing company, or customer engagement statistics to a shop owner, or creating a license plate cloud-based recognition system. This course is meant to monetize the skills that you learn. So what is included in this course? We have split this course into 4 parts. In the first part, Computer Vision Web Basics, you will learn the basics of web development including HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We will go through the integration of computer vision and web development along with the OpenCV basic algorithms. We will also look into creating elegant graphical interfaces for your web apps. This part will include 3 projects. In the second part, Computer Vision Web Advanced, you will learn face detection, body detection, hand recognition, face mesh detection, body segmentation, and much more to create some advanced projects. Here we will create 5 projects to solidify what we have learned. In the third part, Computer Vision Web Expert, we will learn the basics of deep learning with TensorFlow on the web. Here you will understand the fundamentals of object classification and object detection. You will use pre-trained model for testing and then learn to create your own models from your own dataset. This will allow you to create object detection for any type of custom objects. We will also create 3 projects in this part. This part will also contain a free Python course that will make it easier for you to create your own models. The final part, Computer Vision Web Apps, is dedicated to commercially viable projects. We will create more than 20 web apps to get the maximum exposure to real-world applications. These will include automated shirt size measurement, customer engagement, car counter, face attendance, text extraction, AR glasses, face mask detection, pistol detection, and much more. This course is meant to boost your career to new heights. The computer vision industry is expected to be worth $48.6 billion by 2025, with the average salary of a web developer being $82,000 and for a computer vision engineer being $135,000 in USA. The merger of both these technologies is a deadly combination that will soon be in great demand. So it's best to get on this train in the early stages. We will also provide certificates of completion so that you can proudly add it to your resume. We will be using the world's largest computer vision library, OpenCV, along with the most popular deep learning framework, TensorFlow. So you don't have to worry about the latest tools and technologies. And don't worry if you are a beginner who is unfamiliar with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, or even an intermediate programmer who has these skills but needs some polishing. We have got you covered. We created crash courses that will teach you the basics to get started. There is a reason why this has not been done yet on a large scale. It is very difficult to create lots of commercial projects that are optimized to run on the web. Not only that, going through all the bugs and finding their fixes takes a lot of work. But we took the first step and started the process. Although this is a challenging task, we are not new to this arena. We have delivered 8 high quality and information dense courses prior to this course that have been sold in over 75 different countries. So before we begin, let's have a look at the course structure. We have divided this course into 5 parts: Module A, B, C, D, and E. In the Module A, we are going to learn the bare minimum to get started with OpenCV and web development. Here we will learn how to integrate OpenCV, how to convert an image to grayscale, and we will do a very simple project where we will have a few buttons to actually convert an image to grayscale or find its edges. So this will be a dummy Photoshop, and we are going to create this simple project. This will not include the HTML, CSS, or JavaScript courses. From there onwards, we will have the paid courses in Module B, C, D, and E. All these modules will include the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript courses that will allow you to get started very easily, and it will take you from the very beginning till the very end where you can create your projects with ease. So in Module B, we are going to go ahead and learn the basic functions, including word perspective, color detection, contours, how to use webcam with your online application, and how we can upload our videos and use them, and so on. In Module C, we are going to look at the advanced topics that are really applicable in the real-world applications. This will include face detection, body detection, hand detection, body segmentation, face mesh segmentation, and we will create some projects out of this so that we get the maximum knowledge. In Module D, we are going to learn how to use TensorFlow on the web. We will learn about deep learning, including object classification and object detection, and we will also learn how to create your custom models to create your real-world projects. This will include a lot of different projects that will give you good knowledge of how you can utilize your own data to actually create your amazing projects. In the last module, we are going to focus on creating web apps. This will include real-world applications that will include cloth size measurement, customer engagement, car counter, face attendance, face emotion detection, face mask detection, pistol detection, and a lot of different projects. So coming up with this course has taken us months of hard work, and we have created these 5 modules so that based on your requirement, you can go ahead and pick any one of these. Now, if you just want to get started and take the flavor of web development with computer vision, then the Module A is pretty much enough for you. If you want to learn the details in basics and practice some projects, then the web development basics is the right choice for you. If you want to learn the advanced topics such as face detection, body detection that will allow you to create real-world applications, then the advanced module is the right pick for you. And if you want to create your own projects with your own custom data that will include object detection and object classification, then the expert module is the right pick for you. And if you really want to learn everything that we have to offer in web development and create lots of different projects so that you can create your own real-world applications and deploy your own ideas on the web, then the computer vision web apps is the right pick for you. The first module is free, while the other 4 are paid, which will be available on our website. So you can go ahead and purchase them now and get started. So let's get started with Module A, which is Introduction to Computer Vision and Web Development. In this video, we are going to learn the basics of Internet. Now we are going to create websites, so we need to know how the Internet actually works. Now the Internet is not actually a cloud despite the popular belief. It is in fact a giant cable that connects all the computers together. This is required so that you can transfer data from one computer to another. The regular computers that we use daily are called clients, and the computers that store website information are called servers. These servers work 24/7 to provide us with the website information. But if you notice your computer is not connected to a giant internet cable, then how are you connected? Well, the Internet Service Provider comes to play here. The Internet Service Provider, or the ISP, is connected to that giant cable, and they let you connect to their service. So you are indirectly connected to that giant internet cable. Now, Internet is not just a simple line of cable. In fact, it is a web structure laid underwater. If you go to submarinecablemap.com, you can find the layout of this web. Let's have a look at what happens when you enter a website in your browser. So there will be a total of 4 steps before you see the final result. Step number 1, the website request goes to your internet service provider. Now each website is represented not by a name but a unique number. This number or domain is known as the IP address. IP stands for Internet Protocol. It's just a fancy name for a long number. You can think of this as a phone number, so every time you call your friend, you select their name from your contact list. But behind that name, the phone number is the main piece of information that connects you. So in the second step, your internet service provider will find the IP address of the website requested. This number is retrieved from a giant contact list known as the domain name system or the DNS server. This IP address that you receive from the DNS server allows you to contact the computer which has the information of that particular website. This computer is also known as the hosting server, since it is hosting that website information. The hosting server in most cases will send back 3 main files: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But why do we need 3 files? Well, each one of them has its own purpose. If we take the analogy of a car, then the HTML is the chassis, which is based on the structure. CSS is the body that accounts for appearance. And JavaScript is the engine that is responsible for the functionality. So all modern websites will consist of these 3 elements. So in the upcoming videos, we will be learning how to write the code for each of these files. So the first thing we will do is to install our IDE. And in this case, we have the Visual Studio Code. Now, if you're not familiar with what an IDE is, it stands for Integrated Development Environment. It is just a fancy term for a notepad, where a notepad will not actually help you write code. An editor like this, which is an IDE, will actually help you write code by giving you suggestions and telling you where you are making mistakes. Visual Studio Code is actually very powerful because it has these extensions. So with these extensions, you can install them and have extra functionality for different programming languages. So this is the one that we are going to use. So go ahead to visualstudio.com. The exact website is code.visualstudio.com. And here you are going to download for Windows, Mac, Linux, whichever OS you are using. So we will click on Windows because we are using Windows. So it will take you to the download page and the download will start. We are going to wait for it to finish and then we will install. So now that the download is complete, we are going to go ahead and install. Here we will accept the terms, click on next, select the path, we'll click on next, install, and we will wait for the installation to complete. Now we will hit finish and this will open up our Visual Studio Code. So this is our environment. We can close the release notes and here is the welcome message. If we click on new file, that will create our new file. So we are simply going to write test. We are simply going to name it and there you go. So we have our test file and we did not give it any extension. That's why it's showing us like this. If we were to create an HTML file, we can write .html. If it was CSS, we write .css and so on. So now we are going to go ahead and create a template for our course. So this will be an image template where you can have an image within your web page. And we are not just going to add a simple image and make changes to it like a lot of examples on the internet. What we are going to do instead is to create a beautiful layout, and we are going to use that throughout the course, and we will make some changes every now and then, but the main ideology will be the same. So this is the layout that we are talking about. So we will have these different sections. We will have the middle area where we'll have the webcam or the image or the video being displayed. We have some buttons on the side where we can click and make changes. We have the heading, what exactly are we doing, and we also have a logo for our company. So this is the basic idea. It looks beautiful. So by learning this, you will understand how can you actually create these simple ideas, and not just in terms of functionality, but in terms of how it looks as well. So the design elements will be there as well, so that you create beautiful layouts that you can even show as a demo to a client. So even if you are showing a demo, it should be something that is visually appealing rather than just having a plain page with some images and some random text. So we are going to first of all create this layout, and then we will keep adding, and every time we are creating, we are learning something new, we are going to copy this template, we are going to paste it, and then we are going to start it from there rather than writing it again and again. So what exactly is this layout and how can we create it? So we are going to use Flexbox to actually create different containers, and within those containers we are going to add more containers to actually give this layout. So how would that work? So if we were to create containers for this, we will have 3 containers. So this will be the first one, and then here in the blue is the second one, and this is the third one. So we will say that we have a Flexbox, and this Flexbox is basically contains 3 different elements. Then we are going to, this is what it will look like. This is container 1, container 2, and container 3. So a container is simply a division. So we can use the tag div or the element div to actually create this. So once we have this, then if you see, we have these icons. So for these icons, we are going to take the second box and create further boxes and separate them together. So this is how it will look like. We are going to take the second box and we are going to divide it up into different parts, and using these parts we are going to add different icons. So based on how many icons we need, we can have more or less containers. So again, this will be a Flexbox as well, but in the different direction. It's in the vertical direction. Earlier we created a Flexbox with 3 containers that were in the horizontal direction, but this is in the vertical direction, and I will show you how exactly can you change the direction of the flow. Then in the last part, we will call this the right panel. In the right panel, we will have the navigation bar, the top part, and then we will have the content area in which we will have the tablet. Again, we will create this as a Flexbox, and then it will be a vertical Flexbox. That's why it will be in the vertical direction, up and down. So if we go back, this is our main layout, and we will call this blue part, we are going to call this side line. So it is on the side and it is a line, so we are going to call it side line. Then we have the sidebar. We will call this the sidebar, in which we have all these different icons. Then all of this on the right hand side we will call the right panel, and then here this part we are going to call the header. This will be our header, and then below that we will have the content area, or we can call it the tablet area, where we will have the tablet and we will show different content based on our image processing. So this is the basic layout. This is the main idea behind our layout. So let's go ahead and create these files. We will have 3 files for this template. We will have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, all 3 of them running together, linked together, creating this beautiful layout. So now we are in our Visual Studio Code, and here you can see this is our CV web course, and you can see these are the different folders. We have created a new folder called the Module A Introduction, and this folder is basically empty. There's nothing inside this folder. So what we are going to do, the first thing, we are going to create a template image. So we will create a template for images. Whenever we want to process images, we are going to use this template. So we are going to right click and we are going to create a new folder, and we are going to write here 1-template. So this will be our template. Because we don't have any other folders inside this, it is taken us directly here. So this can be a little bit confusing, so we can right click here and reveal in file. So here you can see module A, introduction, and here you can see we have a template. So what we can also do, if we go back, here we can right click and create resources as well. Resources. So these resources will have everything we need for this course. So we are going to put all the files here. So that's why we have created it outside, and we will keep adding different things that we require. So we can close that, and here you can see we are in the template right now. So in the template, we are going to create new files. So we will click on new file, and here we are going to write index.html. That is our first file. Then we are going to create style.css, and the last one is main.js. So this will be our JavaScript file, this will be our HTML file, and this will be our CSS file. So these are the three files that we will be using. So we will first of all go ahead and create our HTML file. Now, if you remember, we had a boilerplate code, and to add that, you just have to write the exclamation mark and press enter. So this will give you your boilerplate code. And the very first thing what we can do, instead of writing document, we are going to write CV web. So we are doing the CV web course. That's why we are writing this CV web here. And then after that, we need to link our files. We need to link our JavaScript file. We need to link our style.css file. So we need to know how exactly can we do that. So to do that, first of all, we are going to link our CSS file. We can write link, and it will give us the option of linking CSS file. If we hit enter, it will automatically write the same name that we have given, style.css. If you had given a different name, then you would change it here. So this will link our style. Now what we can do is we can also write comments here so that it's easier for us to know what exactly did we do when creating this template. So here we can write link to the CSS file. And to change this to a comment, you will click on that and press Control and slash. So /, and that will convert it into a comment. So this way it will be easy for us to know what we did, and if we forget something, we can come back and check it again. Now normally you are going to link your CSS file in the head. The same way you are going to link the JavaScript file right at the end, because you want everything to load and then you want to start the functionality. So that's why you are going to write it at the end of the body. So this will be linking of the JavaScript file. So we will write here link the JS file, and we will make it a comment. And then to link it, all we have to do is we have to give in the script tag. So we can write here script, and we press enter with the source, of course, and that will give us the option to write the source. And if we write main.js, then it is now linked. So here you can see main.js, and here you can see main.js. Now our JavaScript file is linked, our CSS file is linked to this HTML page. So if we save it, and if we run this now, open in live server, and there you go. So now our web page opens, and you can see here it says CV web, which means we are headed in the right direction. So now that we have created the files and linked them together, now we are going to go ahead and create our structure. Once we have the structure, we will understand what exactly do we need to do. So if we go back to our layout, you can see the first thing we need are the three different boxes, or the divisions. So we need three different boxes that are within one container. So let's create that first container. What exactly is that? You can directly put it in the body as well, but we are going to create a main page division, and we are going to put everything in that main page. So again, it's just a box that we are calling main page. That's it. So here we are going to write main page, and we are going to comment it. The basic method of creating div is simply writing div and pressing enter, and that will create this div for us. And then we go ahead and write class, and inside that class we write the class name. So for example, we write main page. Now because we are going to do this again and again, An easier way to write this is writing div, and once we write that, we simply write dot, that will be the class, and we just write the name of the class. So for example, we write main dash page, and if we hit enter, that is going to give us the exact same thing. So this will make it easier for us to write all of these different divs later on. So this is our first div, which is the main page. Now inside this main page, we are going to have everything. So it will have inside this, we will have everything. So that's the main idea. This is the main page. So we need 3 divisions within this box. So again, we are going to create the 3 divisions, the 3 divs. So the first one, if you remember, we called it the sideline. So we are going to write div dot sideline, side dash line. Then the second one will be div dot side dash bar. And then the third one will be div dot right dash panel. So if we hit enter, these are the 3 divs that we need. So if we go back, so here you have, these are the 3 divs that we have created. And after this, we are going to need another set of boxes here. So this is what we are going to do within our sidebar, and we will do that later on. But then we are going to also need within this sidebar, within this right panel, we are going to need the header and the main tablet area. So we need to write that down as well. So if we go back to our divs, and here first of all we are going to write it down so that it's easy to follow. So what we can do is we can put dashes so it's easier to see. So we are going to write side line, and we will put dashes again, and we will comment it. So this is our sideline. We can copy this and we can paste it here. We will call it sidebar, and this will be the right panel. Right panel. Now inside our right panel, we know that we need a header, and we also need a main tablet area. So here we are going to create 2 more divs, div dot header, and we will hit enter. That will create our header, and then we also need div dot tablet container, tablet dash container. So here we will copy this part, we are going to paste it here. We will call this header, and then we will paste it here, and we will call this tablet container. So this is basically our layout, and based on this we are going to add different things to it. So now that we have created our layout, if we actually run it, nothing will happen because we did not assign it any colors, we did not assign it anything at all. So here you can see it is still an empty page. So let's put it on one side, and then we are going to start creating some CSS code so that we are able to see this as well. So we see some effect here as well of the template. So now we are going to go ahead to our style.css file, and here first of all what we will do is we are going to create some comments. So to create a comment here, we will simply write dash slash and then asterisk, and then here we are going to write, for example, this part is for the complete page. So we will end it here. So what exactly are we doing to the complete page? First of all, to add it to the complete page, we have to write an asterisk, and then we will write the brackets. So whatever happens within this will happen to the complete page. So it happens to every element within that page. So here, first of all, we will write that our margins, we have some default margins. So we want them to be 0 because we will make every single change. So we will save that. So this will create 0 margins. Then we also have a property called box sizing. Now, when you are creating this box sizing, when you're creating these different boxes, what you want is that the edge of the box is exclusive of the width and the height. So let's say if we have a width of 100 and then there is a border of 5, the value should not be 105. It should be within that. So if we want a 5 pixel border, then the value of the width of the actual box will be 95 and the border width will be 5. So the total will remain 100. So this is something that will allow you to easily change the width and height later on, because it does not get confusing. Then for the body, we are going to give it a color. So it is up to you which body color do you want to give. So in our case, we will simply use a background color of white. So we are going to write here white, and that should be good. So if you wanted to change it, you can change it and see if it's actually working. So if we save this, it becomes red. So we are headed in the right direction. So we will write here white back and we will save it. Then if you remember, we had the main page. So the main page right now has no size. So if we write here dot main page, so the main page right now, if we change the background color of the main page, let's say to be red, if you save it, nothing actually happens because there is no width or height of this page. So let's say we will say that the height is 50 pixels. So if I save this now, you can see that while it is containing the whole width, it does not have the proper height. So it's not till the end. So if we decrease or increase this size, you can see it maintains the width, but the height is what we define. So here what we will say is the height is supposed to be the complete viewport. So what is the viewport? It's basically from the top here till the end. Whatever we are seeing right now is basically your viewport. So we will say that we want 100% of the viewport height. So if we save that, you can see all of it becomes red. So that's how we are sure that our main page is contained within the whole viewport. So now we can remove this and save it. So this will be an imaginary box that is present here called the main page. Now, the other thing that we do have to do is that we are going to use Flex to actually create these 3 different boxes within this main page. So as we have seen here, we are going to create these 3 different boxes. So 1, 2, 3. Now to create these 3 different boxes, we have to make the parent box, we have to give it a property of Flex. First of all, the parent becomes Flex. Then the boxes inside that you can manage based on Flex. So here our parent is basically the main page. So we will say that our display is supposed to be Flex. So now whatever we put inside will automatically have the Flex property. So it will become very easy for us to play around with it. Okay, so now we are going to create our sideline. We will copy this and we will paste it here. This is for the side line. Then we have for the sidebar, and then we have for the right panel. So these are the 3, and then later on we are going to add more to it. So for the sideline, if you remember, we have the class sideline. So we will go ahead and we will write dot side line, side dash line, and we are going to give in the brackets, and here let's change the color. So we are going to write background color equals red. So if we save that, nothing happens again because it's just a div without any dimensions. So we need to give it a height and we need to give it a width. So for the height, we are going to say take the height of your parent 100%. So if we save that, again nothing happens because there is no width. So we will define the width to be, let's say, 25 pixels, 25 pixels. And if we save that, there you go. We have our sideline. There you can see we have our sideline. If we move it around, it stays on the side. So that is exactly what we need. And of course, we need to change the color. The color that we are going to use, we can write it in hexa 37C9EF. So this is the color that we are going to use. If we save this now, that is our sky blue color that we'll be using throughout. So this is how we can create our sideline. Then the next step, we are going to create our sidebar. So let's create something here. So we'll write here side dash bar, and here we are going to write dot right dash panel. So right now what we will do is we will give this a background color of red, and we will give this a background color. The reason I'm giving these colors is so that we understand what exactly is going on and how these are changing in the background. So we will have a background of red here and green here. So we need to see what exactly is happening. So we are going to define the width and the height. So for the height, we want it to be complete. So we will give it the height as, again, 100% of the parent. So if we save that, nothing will happen because there is no width. So for the width, this time around, instead of giving a fixed amount, we are going to give it a percentage. So let's say it is 15% of the remaining area. So if we save that, there you go. So now you have this sidebar that shows up here. So the rest of all of this is basically your right panel. So if we give it a height, so if we give it the height of 100%, there you go, nothing happens. Why? Because we did not give it width. So to give it the width, we are going to write width is 100% of the remaining part. So if we say that, you can see it takes up 100% of that. So if I move this around, you will see the size of the red and the green change, but the size of the blue does not change. So if I make it smaller or if I make it bigger, you can see it changes. Now it's up to you if you want to fix it or if you want to keep it constant. So here you have the option. So if I wanted a fixed height, I can simply say I want it always to be 50 pixels. 50 pixels, and there you go. So it is 50 pixels, or let's put it as a bigger value to 50 pixels. There you go. And if I change this now, if I move it around, the 250 pixel remain the same, but the width of this green part actually changes because it is taking up the 100% remaining width. So here, instead of giving 100% or 250% here, we are going to give it 15%. Like we did earlier. So that's what you get. So if we open it up completely, this is how it will look like. So now we are going to go ahead and add some icons on this sidebar. Now one might think that the easiest way to actually add these icons is simply by adding some images here, creating a new folder, naming it, for example, icons, and then having all the icons that you need inside here. But we are lucky enough that Google has created a bunch of icons and they have compiled it into a library that we can actually access online, and we don't have to go ahead and manually download or upload these files. So with just a few lines of code, you can actually access all these different icons. So where are these and how can you access them? So if you go to Google Fonts/icons, fonts.google.com/icons, here you can find all these different icons that are available. And these are catered towards a good graphical interface, and they have a lot of research behind these icons. So it is very optimal for us to actually use them. So how can you use all of these? Well, you can click on this and you can see there is a link that you can use. But if you don't want to get specific links for each one of these, what you can do is you can go to the material icons guide, and here you can see the way how you can actually use this. So here they are saying to set it up, you have to use the link tag, and the reference is given here. to the fonts Google API, and that will add your icons there. And in order to access it, in order to use it, it's a very simple process. All you have to do is you have to create a span, and you have to give it a class of material icons. So this class is already generated, so you just have to attach it, and then you write in whatever icon you need over here. For example, here, if you needed a face, you will write here face, and this is basically the size. So if you want to make it smaller or bigger, you can also define these different material icons, sizes 18, 24, 36, 48. So we are going to look into these, and you can also have the coloring options. You can see this is normal, this is disabled. With this lights, this is again disabled. So there's a lot of options here that you can use. So the main thing that we need to understand here is that we need this link. So we are going to copy it, and we are going to go back to our index.html. And if you remember, we have to link it here. So here we are going to write that we are going to add all the material icons. So adding material icons, and we are going to comment it. And below this, we are going to paste our link. So if I show you the complete link, this is the link: https fonts.googleapis.com/icon ? family equals material plus icons. So this is the complete link. Now to add this, we are going to go ahead to our sidebar. Here you can see this is the div. So inside this, we are going to create our icons. So first of all, if you remember, we have to create a span. So we are going to write here span, and we are going to write dot. So we are going to give it a class. So span dot, our class will be circle. So we are going to give it a circular shape. So later on, this circular shape, we are going to give some properties in our CSS code. So it will create all of these circle, because by default, if you look at a span or a div, it will be rectangular or square. So we need to change that. So we will give it a class circle, and later on we are going to change it. Then inside this, we are going to add our icon. So the tag for icon is simply I. So we are going to write I, and then we will give it a class. If you remember, we had to give a class material-icons. That's how it will access these icons, and we can give it a name, whatever we need. So we are going to write here material-icons, and we are going to hit enter. So now it has created this icon with the class material icons, and inside here we are simply going to write what type of button do we need. So here, if we go to our material icons, you can see these are all the different icons. For example, if you wanted settings, you will simply write settings here, and it will give you the setting. Here is back arrow, cancel, add circle. So all these are available, delete. So some of them we are going to use. So let's start with the first one. We are going to write settings. So, and if we save this, there you go. Now we have our settings icon over here. So this is very good to see that right off the start, we are able to see the impact of our code. So that's good. Now we can see that the icon itself is much smaller than what we require. So what we can do is we can change the size of this. So here, after our class, we can again add some attributes. So here we will add some style attributes. So we will write style. So this is similar to writing CSS code, but it is specific for this icon. So we are going to write it like this. So style equals, we are going to give in the attribute. So the attribute here will be font-size. Font size is, let's say, 36 pixels. So there you go. So this is what it looks like. So this is the style equals font size. And if we save this, you can see the font size has increased. And we also want to change its color, because if you remember, we want it white color and the background is going to be grayish. So here we are going to give in the color. color is white. So we're not talking about the background color, we are talking about the color of the icon itself. That's why we are writing color. So if we save that, there you go. So now you have the icon that becomes white. Now you could do the same thing. You can create a class for this. So for an icon class, and then you can write it in CSS as well. That is up to you if you wanted to do that. Now we are doing this like this because I want to show you different methods of how you can use it. So it's up to you if you wanted to change it as well. So now what we can do is we can replicate this, and if we copy this part and we paste it here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we are going to have 5 different icons. So the first one is settings. The second one we are going to use is info. The third one we are going to use is visibility. Now it's up to you. If you wanted to change, you can change. You can use your own icons as well. Then we have auto / underscore fix underscore normal. And then we have video cam. The last one is extra. We can remove that and let's save it. So there you go. We have settings, icon, I is for information. Then we have the I, magic wand, and the record or play button, as you can see. Okay, so these are the ones that we are going to use, but as you can see, they are not actually in the way that we would like it to be. So what we will do is we will go back, and first of all we'll go to our style.css, and here what we need to do is we need to make this flexbox. So once it is flexbox, then we can actually go ahead and make changes to all these different icons. So here in the sidebar, we are first of all going to say that this is display flex. So we will write here display flex. So if we save this, you can see now that it has created the flex part, but it is in the wrong direction. It is the one that we had earlier, which is in the horizontal direction, but we need it in the vertical direction. So we will write here that the flex direction is basically column instead of rows. So if we save that, there you go. So now it has become as column instead of rows. So now you might say that, okay, we had this earlier as well. So why did you do it? Why did you go through writing display and flex direction? Because earlier we had the same exact result. So why did you do that? The reason is now we have the option to play around with flex. So what it will allow us to do is, for example, we can write justify content and we can give in specific spacing in between. So for example, we can write here justify content and then we can write space between. So if we save this, there you go. So now it evenly distributes the spacing between these different icons. So we were not able to do that before. Using flex, we are able to do this. Now this is in the vertical direction. What about in the horizontal direction? We can also tell it to be centered. So to do that, we will write align items and we are going to write centered. There you go. So now they are in the center. So whenever you want to fix it in the horizontal direction, you are going to write align items. Whenever you want to fix it in the vertical direction, you are going to write justify content. So these come with the flex option. So when you are using Flexbox, you can actually use them. Now, as you can see, the spacing in between is good because it's evenly distributed, but the spacing above and below is really bad. So what we need to do is, if you remember, we need to add some padding in order to have some spacing in between. So what we can do is we can write here padding, and let's say we can write 150 pixels. But you can see what happened was that it increased the width of our bar as well. It increased the height. It didn't increase, it added the padding to the height, which is what we wanted, but it also added the padding over here. So we cannot use padding. What we have to use is padding dash top. So we want to add padding at the top. So there you go. Now you have padding at the top, and we also need padding at the bottom. So we can do the same thing, and we can write padding at the bottom, and we can, let's say, make it 150 pixels as well. There you go. So at the top you have some padding, at the bottom you have some padding, and now it is starting to take shape. It is starting to look like something that we saw in our design. So it has started to look good. So if we open this up, there you go. If you open it up, this is what it will look like. Okay, so that's good. Now what we are going to do, so that's good, but now what we are going to do, we are going to create circles around this. So if you remember, in the background we had circles. So if you go back to our design, at the background you can see we have circles, and in the front you can see we also have a shadow. So we are going to add both of these. So here as well, I think we have a shadow, or no, we don't have a shadow there. So here we have a shadow, and here we have these circles. So let's go ahead and fix this circle part. So in the sidebar below this, we are going to write circle. This is our class circle, and then we are going to give it a width and a height. So let's say our height is 75 pixels and our width is also 75 pixels. So we want it to be a circle, so we have to give it the same. So the height and the width are now 75, 75. And what we can do is we can change the background color. So background color, we are going to give it a gray color, C7 D0 D8. There you go. So if we save that, there you go. You have this color, gray color, and as you can see, it is a square. So now you can see that this circle is not putting the contents in the center. Now to put the content in the center, all you have to do is you have to use flex. So we will write here display flex. If we save that, nothing happens because we did not align, we did not justify. So then we can simply copy this part, which is justify and align. So this will allow us to center it. So we don't need space between. As you can see here, we don't need that. We only need center. We need to center both of them. So we can save that, and there you go. So now it comes in the center of the circle. So there you go. And now how do you actually make it circle? All you have to do is you have to write border radius. So we don't actually have a border in a different color. So we will just give it an edge. We'll round it off. So that will give us our circle. So if I put 25%, then it will not be a circle. It will be something like this. But if I write 50%, then it should be a circle. So that's how simple it is. So right now we are putting 50%, and there you go. Now it has become a circle. So now that we have these icons ready, what we can do is we can remove this red color from the background, and we can give it the actual color that we need. So here we can write F7, F7, F7. And if we save this, there you go. Now you have a little bit white grayish theme, and here you have a little bit darker green and the settings and all that. Now, if you see in our design, one of these icons is blue. So again, this is up to you if you want to add this functionality. It's very simple to add this. That's why I wanted to show you this. So if you go to index.html, all these classes are same, circle, circle, circle. The last one, we can add a new class. So to add a new class, it's very simple. All you have to do is you have to write here a space, and then you give it whatever other class you want. So here we can write blue dash circle. There you go. And now you can save it. So now we will go back to our style, and here in the blue dash circle, we are going to just change the background color to blue. So here we'll put background color, and the blue that we are using is this here. So we will copy that and we are going to paste it here. So there you go. So this button, this icon becomes blue. The rest of them, they will remain the same. So that is good so far. And the last thing we have to do is we have to add a border shadow. So the box shadow. So here we want to add a shadow. So how can you add that? You can write here box dash shadow. So if you hover over it and go to the MDN reference, you can find the details. So there you go. You have the box shadow, 10 pixels, 5 pixel, 5 pixel red. So here basically tells you you have a box shadow described by X, Y offsets relative to the element. Then you have the blur. So this is the blur, and then you have the spread radius and the color. So this is basically how you can write. So you have different options of writing it. So if you click on it, it will change and it will tell you what effect does it have. So this is very interactive and intuitive. So you can try this out. So the shadow that we are going to add is simply 1 pixel, 1 pixel, then 1 pixel, and then we are going to give in 10 pixel, and then we are going to give in the RGB value of RGB of 185, 185, and 185. So let's save that, and it has added the shadow here. So we can remove this green part so we can actually see it. Where are you, green? There you go. So we remove the right panel, and there you go. You can see the shadow. If I remove the shadow, you can save, and you can see there is no shadow, and now it's with the shadow. So with the shadow, it looks much better. So if I open this up, there you go. This is our design, the shadow here, and these are the icons. And now what we need is the header and the content area. So now we are going to go ahead and create the header file. So we have created these icons, we have created these boxes, and now we are going to go ahead and create this division. So here we have the header, and here we have the tablet area or the content area that we want to add our content. So at the top, we will have some divisions as well, and at the bottom, we will have a simple tablet. So let's go ahead and do that. So here in the HTML file, you can see that we have the right panel, and inside that we have the header and the tablet container. So inside the header, we are going to have 3 sections. So if you see here, we have our OpenCV web header, and then we have our logo, and then on the left hand side, we have an empty space. So the easiest way to do this would be to create 3 different boxes, and we will add a header to one of them, we will add a logo to one of them, and one of them we will keep empty. So this way it will create this layout. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first one will be our div that is going to have a class of empty side. So it will be on the left hand side. So we'll write here empty side. So this will be our empty div. Then we will have our h1 container. So we will write h1, and inside that we are going to write CV web. So this is our heading. So whenever we are creating new projects, whenever we are trying new ideas, we can actually go ahead and change the header here to give us this heading. So then we are going to add a logo. So here we are going to write a div, and we are going to call it logo container. So we will name it logo-container. So in this logo container, we are going to add an image. So this image will be provided to us. So we are going to go ahead and bring that image into our folder. So here in the resources folder, we are going to go ahead and create a new folder, and we are going to write here template. So inside this template, we are going to go ahead and paste our logo.png. So this is the logo CV zone. We are using this. So in order to access this, first of all, we are going to write a tag image, and we have the source as well. So if we click on that, we need to give in the source. So the source is basically, if we go back from here, so right now we are in introduction module A/template. So we need to go back 2 times, and then we need to go into resources and then template. So it's a long way, but this way it will be organized. So what we can do is we can go back 2 times. There you go. And then it gives us the option resources. Then it tells us templates, and inside the template we should have logo. Oh, actually I put it outside, so we need to put it inside the templates. There you go. So now if we go here, if we write template, then we can write logo.png. So this will give us the logo that we are looking for, resources template logo.png. So that's the idea. If we save this now, you will see that we have our logo here. You can see something is here, but because the background is white, actually we can go ahead in the style.css, and we can go to the body background color and we can make it red. There you go. So now you can see we have the CV zone, and it is available in our page. So we can undo this, save it. So here you can say it says side, then we have CV web, and then this. So why is it saying side? It should not say that. So here we wrote it by mistake, so we can remove that. It is supposed to be here. So there we go. So CV web, and then we have this logo. So this is the empty site, that's why it will not have anything in it. So how can you actually use this? First of all, you have to style it. So we'll go to style.css, and in the style.css we are going to look at the different header part that we are going to change. So first of all, when we go down in the right panel, we have the header. So let's copy this part, and we are going to write here header. And in the header, we have, first of all, the header class. So header, and we are going to write. So let's first of all make the background color blue, because that's what we will be using. So there you go. Now our background color is blue, which is similar to what we had earlier. And we need to make sure that this is, the width of this is 100%. So it's always till the end. So we can simply write here width is basically 100%. We have to put a semicolon here, and there you go. So now we have made sure that the width is 100%. And now what we will do is we will give it a specific height. So in our case, we are going to give it a height of 75 pixels. 75 pixels. There you go. That's our 75 pixels. And now what we need to do is, right now it's vertically aligned. Using flex, we need to make it horizontally aligned. So here we will write display, first of all, flex. When we save it, it automatically gives it a horizontal direction. If we wanted a vertical, we will change the flex direction to column. Then we need to do the spacing in between like we did in the icons. So we can simply write here justify content, and we are going to write space between. And if we save that, then it has equal spacing in between. So that's the idea. And then of course we want to center it in the vertical direction. So to do that, we are going to write align items, and we are going to write center. So if we do that, it will come in the center. Now you can see that the logo itself is a little bit bigger. So what we can do is we can change the width of it. So this we can also do in our HTML file. So if we go down here, and if we go to the logo container, so this is our image. So in the image part, we are going to add, the width attribute, width, and we are going to say it is 120. We are going to use the width of 120, and if we save that, there you go, now it becomes smaller. But of course it is at the very edge and it does not look very good, so we are going to fix that as well. So if we go back here, you can see now our header is on the side here, and we have the middle part and we have the ending part. So all of that is good, but we need to have some spacing as well, some padding, so that it looks good. But before we do that, let's just add a shadow to this header so that it looks good as well. So we are going to go ahead and copy the box shadow that we had, and we are going to paste it here, and we save it. So what we can do now is we can add these paddings. So we need to give the padding on the left hand side, and we need to give the padding on the right hand side. So we will go to our logo container dot logo dash container, and in this logo container we are going to give in a padding on the right hand side, padding on the right hand side, and we will give it 100 pixels. There you go. So now there's a padding on the right hand side, and the same thing we are going to do for the left hand side for the empty space. So we will write here empty dash side. If you remember, we called it empty side over here. This is the empty side. So if we go to that, we are going to save it, and padding we have to give it on the left. We save that, and there you go. So we have given a left and right padding so that it is equally distributed. And now what we need to do is we need to change this H1 font and this H1 type, because it does not look very good. So what we need to do is, if you want to add some font, you can use Google font. As we have seen earlier, we used Google icons. Now we can also add Google fonts. To use the fonts, it's very simple. You have to go to Google Fonts, as we did earlier for the icons, for the material icons. And this time around, we are going to go ahead and click on fonts. Here you will find a lot of different fonts. And for example, if we wanted Roboto, we can click on that and it will give us all these different options. Whichever font you want, you can select regular, for example, and you can click on add. So it will add it over here. So these are the selected families. So if you can't see this, it's basically this button, view selected families. If you click on that, it will give you the families you have selected. So you can have multiple fonts that you require, and then it will generate that link for you. So this is the link that you need to add these fonts. So for example, we don't need Roboto, we can remove, and we just need Cairo. So here, this is the link that we need. So we can simply copy that. And here at the bottom, you can see it tells us what do we need to write to use it. So the font family will be Cairo, and the one that will be for backup will be sans serif. So we can close this and we can go to our index.html, and here in our, let's make it a little bit bigger, here in our add material icons, after that we are going to add our fonts. So add fonts. So let's put it like this, and then we are going to paste it, and this will add our Cairo font. So we are going to use this. This is Cairo font and the weight is 300, and that's the basic idea. You can use whatever font that you want. You can search on the Google icon or the Google fonts and you can bring it in. So here, if we go to our style now, we are going to go ahead and change our styling for this H1. So this is the H1 heading that we are talking about. So we'll go to our style.css, and here we will write H1, and in the brackets we are going to write that our font family is Cairo and the backup is sans serif. And if we save this, you can see the font style actually changes. And what we need to do next is we need to change the color for it. So we will write color and we will make it white. And we will also change the font size. So the font size, let's give it 1.5 rem. and we will give in a little more spacing because it is very congested. So we will write letter spacing is 0.2 rem. So we will save that, and once we open it up, there you go. So now we have CB Web in the middle. On the left hand side we have the icons, and on the right hand side we have our logo, and all of this looks good, and we can proceed to the tablet part. So now we'll go to our index.html, and in the tablet container we are going to add the images that are required for our tablet. So here, first of all, we will go to our resources and copy the tablet file, and also the car.png that we will put at the background. So here in the template, we are going to paste it here. It again pasted in the resources. We are going to move it to templates, and we are going to move that to template as well. So here we have car, logo, and tablet. So we can close this. And here in the tablet container, we are going to basically create an image and then a canvas. Now, when you are using OpenCV, when you want to display something, you have to display it on a canvas. So whether it's a video or an image, you have to use a canvas. So what we will do is we will create an image of this tablet, and behind this tablet will be our canvas. And because you can see here in the middle, it's transparent. So behind this is our canvas, and whatever we do in OpenCV, that will be displayed on this canvas. So the canvas tag is used for canvas, so we have to add that too. So first we are going to add our image. So image, we are going to give in the source. The source is basically, if we go back 2 spaces, we'll go to resources, template, and tablet. So this is our source, and then we are also going to define the width and the height. So we are going to give in the width, which is basically 1050. It's a little bit bigger than 960 by 780 by 720. So that's how we get these values. It's a little bit bigger than that. So we will write here height equals 780. So that's the idea. And then we are also going to give in a class, or let's say we'll give in an ID for this. So ID is basically tablets dash image. So this is our tablet image, and if we save it and if we run it with our live server, there you go. You can see we have our image right here, but as you know, we want it to be in the center, so we have to justify it, and we have to align the item using the flex box. So that's the easiest way to center it. So we will do that later as well, but for now what we have to do is we have to add the canvas. So we are going to add the canvas, and inside this canvas element we are going to add our image for the car. So we are going to write here image, and the source is going to be, we will go back, resources, template, and car.png. So this is our source. If we save it and if we go to our web page, nothing will happen, because using the JavaScript code, you have to actually link your canvas to this image. Right now it's inside this div or inside this canvas tag, but it is not going to show it unless you go ahead and program it using OpenCV to actually display it. So that's what we are going to learn, and that's basically the main part. So the canvas, we are going to give it an ID, and we are going to call it main-canvas. So this will be the main canvas on which we will display everything, and we are also going to define its width and height as well. So the width of this canvas, as I mentioned before, it will be 960, wrote it in the wrong way, 960, and the height is going to be 720. So this is the basic idea. You will push this down. There you go. This is our canvas, this is our image, and we are also going to give the image a name as well. So we are going to call it ID equals image dash main. So we are going to save this. And again, if we go back to our web page, nothing has changed so far. So nothing will change because we haven't really made any changes. Now what we need to do is we need to add a little bit of code to actually run it. But before we do that, we need to change the style.css. We need to move it around a little bit so that the tablet container is in the correct position, the tablet itself is in the correct position, and it looks good. So here, this is the header, and after that we have the tablet container. So in the tablet container we have .tablet -container. So this is our main file, and what we need to do is we need to make it flex, and we will center both sides horizontally and vertically. So here, first of all, we'll make sure that the height is 100% so that it covers the whole area. And then what we will do is we will give it a display flex, and then we will write align items center and then justify content. So this is for centering, also center. And if we open this up, you will see it did not do it correctly because our flex direction is wrong. It should be vertical and not horizontal. So here the flex direction should be column. So if we save that and if we come up here, we get something like this. So now you might be wondering, okay, what happened there? The image is showing here, but it's very weird that it is right at the top. And the reason is that we need to make this positioning of this tablet to be absolute. So we have to give in the image and the canvas both absolute positioning. So if we go back, so the idea is fine. We just need to make sure that the tablet dash image, the position of this is absolute. And we also need to make sure that the main canvas is also absolute. Dash canvas is also position is absolute. So if we open this up now, you can see, oh, there is a spacing somewhere. What happened there? I believe we can remove this height 100%. Actually, let's give it a background color. Let's see what exactly is happening. We'll put red, and what we will do is we'll keep the 100%, and let's see what happens. So we are getting this extra height here, and we need to find out why that is. Let's go ahead and check again. This is display flex, the tablet container. Wait, did we make the right panel? Oh, that's the problem. So the right panel is not actually flex, so we need to make that flex. So here display should be flex, and the display flex, if we go back now, you can see the direction is wrong. So this should be below this. This is at the top, this should be below. So we need to make it column. So the direction, flex direction is supposed to be column. We save that and we open it up. There you go. Now it fixes the issue. So that's the basic idea. And now we can go ahead and remove the red from the background, and we can make the tablet container, it's supposed to be white, I believe. So let's keep it white. And if we open that up, there you go. So this is our container, but as you can see, the image is not being displayed, and that's because we need to add our OpenCV part. So let's go ahead and see how you can add OpenCV to your website. So adding OpenCV to your website is fairly simple. There are two main options that you can use. The first one is to get the OpenCV file, the library file, and add it locally to your website. And the second way is to access it directly from somewhere it has been stored, so you can download it while you are actually visiting the website. So what we will do is we will use the first method where you are locally hosting the actual library so that you don't have to download it again and again from a different source. So how can you download this library? So it's very simple. First of all, go ahead and Google OpenCV JS, and that will take you to the tutorials. So here you will find all the tutorials for OpenCV JS. These are very good documentation. You can go through these, and over here you can see the version number, and for example we can write 4.7.0. It's pretty much the same, the documentation, but you can try to use the latest one if you can. So here you can see there's introduction to OpenCV. It will tell you what is OpenCV and its tutorials, using OpenCV, building it, using OpenCV in Node.js, and all of these different details. So if we click on that, you can see we have some information here. You can go through these. It will give you a good introduction of how you can use this. But again, we are going to show you how exactly you can use this. But the theory part, how it started, you can go ahead and check it here. So here, the first thing you need to know is that how can you download this library, opencv.js. It's a simple file, a single file that you have to download. So here is an example. So you have to go to docs.opencv.org. Then you are going to write down the version number /opencv.js. So that is the actual location of this file. So if I open it in a different tab, you can see this is the actual file. So this contains all the code of this library. So if we right click and save, it will save this file for us. Now this is for version 4.5.0, and here you can see we are talking about 4.7.0. So if you wanted to change it, you can simply go ahead and write here 7.0. So this will give you the 7.0 version. But if you wanted the latest version, what you can do is you can write 4.x. So that will give you the latest build. So if you go down here and you write .x, that will give you the night build or the latest version. So it is up to you which version you want to download. If you are facing issues with one version, you can always downgrade or upgrade to a newer version, or go behind to the previous version. So here how you can save it, you can right click and save as, and then you can simply save this file opencv.js. So we have already saved it, and what you can do is you can simply drag it in your folder. So here in the resources folder in the template, I'm going to go ahead and paste it in the folder, in the resources folder actually, because we are going to use OpenCV again and again. So let's keep it at the top directly in the resources folder. So this is how we actually added OpenCV. Now, how do you add it to your website? We have the file now, but how do you add it to your website? So adding it is very simple to your website. All you have to do is you have to go to your index.html and you have to add your file over there. So here at the top, where we have linked all these different files, right at the beginning, because we want it to load at the very beginning, we are going to write here add OpenCV. So this is for adding OpenCV, and what we will do is we are going to add it. Basically it's a JavaScript file. So how did we add JavaScript? We added by writing script. So it's the same way we are going to write here script, and the source, we need it with the source actually. So we'll write here source, and then the source is basically your OpenCV. So we will go back to 2 spaces, and then we will go to resources and here opencv.js. So this is basically our file, but we need to do one more thing. Now this is a file that may be around 6, 7, 8 MBs. So it might take a while to load. So we don't want the web page to get stuck while it's loading. So we need to make an asynchronous call. So this will be asynchronous, which means the rest of the page should be loading and it should not wait for it to complete. So we will call the asynchronous function, and then what we will do is we will say that when it is loaded, on load, run this function. What is the function? OpenCV ready. So this is a function that we have not created yet. We are going to create this in our JavaScript main.js file. We will create this function, and whenever this is ready, which means whenever OpenCV is ready to run, it will go ahead and run this function. And whatever code we write, we will write it inside this function, so that whenever it is loaded, then only we should process the images or videos, whatever is required. So this is how you can add it. So now we are going to go ahead and save this, and now we will go ahead and write our first JavaScript code when OpenCV becomes ready. So here we are going to go to main.js, and here we will write that our function, which is OpenCV ready, when it is ready, then we are going to run this, and we have to write CV. Now you can think of this as the boilerplate code. So every time you do this, you have to write it down, and after this is the one where we will vary our code, where we will make changes. So here we will write on runtime initialized. So again, these parameters are provided to us by OpenCV, so we are writing it exactly like that. And here we are using an arrow function to actually run it so that it does not get messy. So here we will close and open and close a bracket, and now we are ready. So here whatever we write inside is basically our OpenCV code. So here, for example, we can write console.log, and we can write OpenCV ready. So if we save this and we run it, we open this up and we go to inspect, you will see here it says OpenCV ready without any errors. So you can see it's on the line 4 of our JavaScript main.js. So it means now our OpenCV is ready and we can run these functionality. If it wasn't ready, if it didn't load, it will give us an error here. So that's good to know that it is working and we are ready to run. So next what we will do is we will try to read that image from the image source and convert it into an OpenCV format. So we will write it down here. So we will read an image and read an image from the image source and converts to OpenCV format. Now, if you remember, OpenCV format is basically MAT, M-A-T. This is the format that OpenCV came up with, so we are going to use that. So if you remember, in JavaScript, we use let to define our variable, and we will call it image main. So our image main is basically cv dot imRead, and we are going to write which image do we want to read. We want to read the image main. So this is the ID that we have given. So this is the source of our image. So it should be the same image main here. It should be here, image main, image dash main. Now, why did we write CV here? This is the naming that we added here. So this is the convention that whenever we want to use some functionality of our library, we can simply refer to cv dot whatever functionality we want, and we can write it down like this. So this is basically what this is doing, is image in OpenCV mat format. So this is what it will give us. And once we have that image main, now we can simply display it like we display it normally in OpenCV, which is using cv.imShow. And where do we want to display? We want to display it on our main canvas. So we will write here main dash canvas. And what do we want to display? We want to display image main. So we will write here image main. So we will put it a semicolon here. Now, one more thing we have to do here, because we are using web space, we need to allocate memory very efficiently. So if we are not using something, we need to delete the memory. We need to, free up the memory by deleting these images. So once we have shown it, we are going to go ahead and delete this image. Now it will show us in every iteration. That's not a big deal, but here from the memory, we have to delete it. So to free the memory allocated, there you go. So here we should add a semicolon as well. So save this. So now if we go ahead and run this, you will see that there you go. We have our image in OpenCV and we have displayed it on the canvas. But as you can see, it did not cover the whole canvas because this image size is smaller than the actual canvas. But we can simply change it by going to our image in the index.html, and this is our canvas and this is our image. So we can give it the same width and height as the canvas. We can copy this part and we can paste it here. If we save this now and we go back to our code, and there you go. So now it is actually displaying. But one more thing you might have noticed is that this image is actually above the tablet image. That's why we are able to see these edges. And they look really bad because it is not giving the illusion that it's shown on the tablet. It's actually showing above it. So it's just an image pasted on it. So we need to fix that. And how can we fix it? We can go to this tablet image and we can give it an index. So we can tell it which level height it should have. So in web pages, we have different index values. The higher index value, it means it's above the other. So, or we can give this image a lower value, a lower index value, so that it can go behind. So it's up to you what you want to do. Let's go ahead and change the Z index and let's go to style. And here, let's change it for the canvas. So we will say that the Z index, do not inherit, make it -1. So it will go back. So if we run this now, there you go. So now you can see the curved part here and it looks really good. And if we right click and inspect, you can see there is no error and everything works fine. So this was basically our template that we will be using later on. So as you can see, we have multiple files here. So we have index.html, main.js, and style.css. So all of this code we have written. We are not going to write it again and again. We are going to copy it and make some changes to it rather than writing it again and again. And again, this will be always our boilerplate code that we will get started with. And here we will make changes, which one to display, which image to display, and in between here we can make some changes. We can blur the image, we can gray it, and all of these different things that we can do with OpenCV. So next up, we are going to have a look at how we can do some image processing on these images and really see the OpenCV library functionality happening right in the browser. So now we are going to go ahead and look at some basic functions of OpenCV. So we are going to have a look at how to convert an image to grayscale, how to add some blur, how to find edges, and so on. So what we will do is we have already created our template. We are going to copy that and we will paste it, and then we are going to start from there. So we will simply right click and reveal in File Explorer. And here we can see this is our module A. And here you can see we have the template. So we are going to copy this template and we will paste it. And here instead of 1, we will write 2 dash basic functions, basic functions. So right now you can see we have these 3 files. So we can close this, and if we go to our introduction, now we have a template and basic functions. We can right click and open with live server. And there you go. This is our CV web. And as you can see, we have the exact same layout. We have the image. And what we will do is we will convert this into grayscale. We will add some blur and so on. So let's close this. And what we will do is we'll go to our main.js Now in the index.html, we don't need to make any changes. We can keep it the same. The only thing you might want to change is the heading. So here we can write basic functions and we can save this. Then we have the main.js and the style.css. So here we are not going to make any major changes. So we will close that, and we will go directly to main.js. So when OpenCV is ready, we are going to run this function, and upon its initialization, we will create an image, and then we are simply displaying that image. And at the end, we are deleting that image to free the memory. Now, if you want to see how much memory we are saving and how to make it more customized, more efficient, what you can do is you can press Shift and Escape. So for example, if we right click here and open with Live Server, we can press Shift and Escape. This is for Chrome. That will give you the tab CV Web, and as you can see here, this is the memory footprint. So if this memory footprint keeps going forward, if it keeps increasing, then it means something keeps adding on. It's not being deleted properly, and that's why we need to add this deleting part. So sometimes you will see that this number will keep increasing, and at a certain point it will increase so much that the browser will crash. So you have to make sure that you are allocating the memory efficiently, you are deleting the images that you are creating in every iteration so that it works properly. Now for images, it's not a big deal, but when you are working with videos and webcams, then it is actually a big deal, and you have to make sure that this figure does not go very high. So we can close this, and here you can see we have basic functions here written. And what we will do now is, first of all, we are going to convert our image to grayscale. Now in order to do that, we will clone our main image. Now we can add a new image, we can create a new image, and we will learn that as well. But for now, what we will do is we are going to copy our image. So we will write here image gray equals image main dot clone. So basically this is the method of copying the image. So here we are simply writing clone, and once that is done, we are going to convert our image to grayscale. So we can write here converting image to grayscale. And how do you do that? It's very simple. We'll write cv.cvt color. It's cvt color, and then we will write we want to convert our image main, and we want to store it in image gray. And what is exactly the conversion that we need? We will write cv.color, this should be capital, underscore RGBA to gray. So that's how you can convert. And after that, we are simply going to write 0. The 0 here basically is the number of channels. So the output image, how many channels should it have? If you write 0, then it will take it from the source. So whatever channels the source has, it will take it from there. Okay, so this is the basic idea. And then what we can do is, instead of writing image main here, we can simply write image gray. So that will display us the image gray. And one more thing we have to do, we have to delete the image. So here we are going to write image gray. So there you go. If we run this now, we should have, there you go. So this is our gray image. So earlier we had a colorful image, RGB, and now we have a grayscale image. So next up, we are going to add some blur. So for the blurring part, we are going to follow the same procedure. We are going to convert this, and we will write here blur, and here we are copying the image main. So this was converting image to grayscale. Now we are writing adding blur. So it is up to you if you want to add blur to the main image or you want to add blur to the grayscale image. You can add it to both. So to add the blur, we have the option of adding different blurs. The one we are using will be Gaussian blur. So you can write here Gaussian blur, and inside that we need to give in the parameters. So we will convert our main image and we will add the blur and we will save it in image blur. And then we have to give the kernel size. So this kernel size we are going to define. So let k size equals new cv dot size, and then we are going to give 5 by 5. So this is the way you can actually define your kernel size in OpenCV.js. So once that is done, what we can do is we can print out the image blur instead. And 5 by 5 is relatively small, so we have to give in odd numbers. So let's say 13 by 13, so that we have a clear difference between blur and original. So let's run this now. And there you go. So now you can see the image is quite blurred. And if we wanted to increase the blur, we can do that too. So if we go here and we increase it to, let's say, 49 and 49, that will be a lot of blur. And if we open that up, there you go. So that's a lot of blur. There you go. So then we are going to look at the edge detector. So we are going to find the edges using Cani edge detector. So how can you do that? You can simply write cv.cani, and then we have to give in the image that we want to find the edges on. Again, this can be the main image, it can be the blurred image, it can be the grayscale image. Whatever image you want to give, you can give. In this case, we are giving the image main directly. And then we have the image Cani. Now we did not define image Cani, so we do have to do that. So we will copy this part, we will paste it, and we will write here Cani. So image Cani, and once that is done, we have to define the thresholds, threshold 1 and threshold 2. As we know, we have to define these, and based on these parameters, you can have more edges or less edges based on these values. So you can play around with these and see what suits you best. So these values can range from 0 to 255, both of these. So you can play around with these and see the results. So now we will display the image Cani. So let's copy that and paste. And now we are going to run it in live server, and there you go. So this is how you can find the edges in an image using the Cani edge detector. So one more thing that we did not do, and because right now this is image and it's not taking up a lot of memory, that's why it was okay to do it, but still you do have to do it, which is image blur dot delete and image Cani dot delete. So to finish our code, we have to do that. So this is the basic idea of how you can use basic OpenCV functions in OpenCV.js, and it is always a good idea to add semicolons, so we can do that here as well, and we can save it. So this is our code for creating basic functions in OpenCV, and next what we will do is we will create a simple Photoshop using this functionality. We are going to use these buttons on the sides as our changing parameters. So when we click on one of these, it should turn gray. When we click on the other, it should show the edges. Then if we click on the other, it will blur the image and so on. So let's go ahead and do that. So now using these basic functions that we have learned in the previous chapter, we are going to create a Photoshop web application. So let's go ahead and copy this. So we will copy and paste. And now we can press F2 to actually rename it. And here we are going to write 3-project and dash Photoshop. So this will be a very simple and minimalistic Photoshop project. It is very good to start off with, but of course later on we are going to have a look at more advanced projects such as object detection, custom object detection, object classification, color detection, contours detection, and a lot more. So let's go ahead and create this project. So first of all, we are going to close our basic functions, and here in the index.html file, we are going to make a few changes. Now, these few changes are based on, first of all, we have to change the name, basic functions. We will write Photoshop. This will be our Photoshop project. And what we will do next is change our icons. So these icons, they don't really show you what exactly you are doing. So we are going to change on based on what we require. So now we will go to Google Fonts, and here we will go to icons. In these icons, we are going to find the buttons that we require, the icons that we want. So here, the first one that we want the button to be is RGB. So we want to show the colored original image. So let's say we write color, and there you go. So we have a lot of different images that represent color. I believe this is the one that shows us color the most. So we can use this as the palette. So we are going to go ahead and write here PALETTE. So this is our palette. We will save that. Then we will go back, and the next one we want is the grayscale. So we are going to write here gray. So here we are getting contrast. So I believe that is a good representation of grayscale. So we can write contrast. So contrast. Then in the third button, we want blur. So we will write here blur and see what we get. So I think this is good. Blur on. So if you can see, there's a space. So you have to write underscore when there's a space. So we will write here blur underscore on. And then we will write, we have to do something for the edge. This is school commit edge high seldom. No, that actually is not good. We can also write outline, maybe outline. Okay, that's kind of an outline. Yeah, let's pick this grade. So we will write here grade. And the last one we will keep as it is. We are not going to change it. And let's run this in the live server. There you go. It says Photoshop. And here on the left hand side, we have all our icons ready. Now, another thing we do have to add is what happens when we hover over it. Because normally buttons, they give you feedback. And that's how you know it is responsive. It's actually a button. So when we hover over it, it should change color. So that way we will know this is a button. And when we click on it, it should change the color as well, so that we know we already clicked on it, so we don't click multiple times. So how can we do that? Let's go back. First of all, we are going to go to our style.css, and we know that all these buttons, all these icons, they already have a class by the name circle. So we can make changes to this circle class. So what we will do is we will go to our circle. We will go to our circle, and in this circle we are going to add a parameter. So we will say that when circle has a hover, then we are going to do something. We are simply going to change the background color. So we will copy this and we will give it a little bit of a darker gray. So it's already gray, but we will give it a little more darker. So we will save that and we will open it up. And there you go. So when we hover over it, it actually becomes dark. And that's pretty good. And this will also become dark. So that's good. So now we will add the click part. So when the circle becomes active, then we want to change the color, and we already have a theme color which is blue, so let's put that as the theme color. So let's save that, and now if we go back, so when we click on it, it becomes blue, so we know that we have clicked on it, so that looks good. So that's the basic idea of how we can change these icons and how we can make this look more like a button which is clickable. Now to add the actual functionality of clicking, there are several methods. So the first and the easy method is basically when you go to the button itself, or let's say we go to the span itself, here we can write on click, and we can give the function name that you need to run when this happens. So this is one way to find the click, to get the click. The other way is to simply go to your JS code, and here you ask for it to wait for the click. When the click happens, run this code. So we are going to take the second approach, and what we are doing is we are taking a very easy approach. This is not the most efficient way of doing this. There are other ways you can do it more efficiently, but this is the most easiest way to get started. And because we are just starting right off, we need to pick up the basic concepts we need to understand without getting confused. So later on, we will look into more efficient ways of writing buttons and how you can utilize them. But for now, we are going to take a simple approach. So what exactly is that simple approach? To get the click of a button, what we can do is, so how do you find a button which is in HTML, and how do you link it to your JS code? How exactly can you do that? So basically, you know that all of these are basically elements. So it's very simple. All you have to do is you have to write document. After document, you have to write get element by ID or get element by class name. So it's up to you. If you write class name, then you will get a list of elements that are attached to that class. But if you write get element by ID, then it will give you the exact single value or exact single element that is attached by that name. So we will be using get element by ID. So what we will do is we will give all of these buttons unique names. So for example, this is for RGB. So we will call this button RGB. Let's say button dash RGB. So here we can write, so we are putting it in span because that is the parent element. So we will write here ID equals, and we are going to write button underscore RGB, not underscore dash, button dash RGB. So this is what we are going to write. We are going to copy that and we are going to paste it for all of these. And we are going to make some changes. So the last one we are not actually using, so we don't need to change that. So the second one is gray, the third one is blur, and the fourth one is edge. Or you can write canny if you want. So that's the idea, and we can save it. So now it will format it so that it's easier to see. And if we go to our main.js, here we can search for this specific ID. So we can write button dash RGB, and once it is clicked, so if you remember I mentioned, so if you want to detect its click, all you have to do is you have to write on click here. So this is a property that you can use. The same way we can use it in JavaScript. So we can write dot on click. There you go. So on click, we are going to create a function. And inside that function, we are going to write all the code that we want to run. So here we will write function, and we don't need to give any name. And here we can put a semicolon because it is ending a line. And here inside, we will write everything we want to run when this button is pressed. So let's, for simplicity, what we are going to do, we are going to write here console.log, and we are going to write RGB button pressed. We will save that. Here index is not saved. We are going to save that too. And now we will open it up. There you go. And if we click on this, we will first of all go to inspect. And here OpenCV is ready. And if we click on this, you can see RGB button pressed. If we click again, it says 2 times RGB button pressed, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and so on. So this way we can write whatever function we want, whatever code we want inside this part to actually run. So the efficient way to do this in terms of memory would be to create the image and then delete it right away. So we don't have any global images. Whatever we have, we are going to create when the button is pressed, and then we are going to delete it. So all of these we are going to create inside these functions. So first of all, we will create one function, and then later on we will create the others. So the RGB function, we will come to that later on because it will have no effect right now. So we will do the gray part and then come back to the RGB. So here we will write the gray button, and the gray button is pressed. So here, whenever the gray button is pressed, we are going to first of all create our main image, because this we are going to delete in the first iteration. So we have to create it again. Then we need the gray image clone. We are going to paste that here. And then we need to convert it into grayscale. We will paste that here. And then we need to show our gray image. And then we will delete our image main and gray image. So as I mentioned, it's not the most efficient way of doing this, but this will actually consume less memory. Even though it's a bit more code, it will consume less memory because we are deleting it properly. Because if you don't delete it properly, it will consume a lot of RAM. So you have to make sure you are consuming less RAM. So when we click on the gray button, now it should convert and it should show you the IMG gray. So let's go ahead and open our Photoshop. And what we will do is we will press our gray button, and there you go. So we are now looking at our gray image. So we have done one of them, and now we need to do the rest of them. So here in the RGB, what we will do is we will create our main image, and then we will display our main image, and then we will delete our main image. So that's the idea, and we can remove the clone from here. We have done for the gray. Now we will do for the blur. So we will copy this part and we will paste it here. This is for blur. And for blur, we need the main image, we need the clone, and then we don't need the grayscale image part. We can remove that. Instead, we need the blur part. So here we are going to copy the add blur and we will paste it here. And instead of gray, we are going to display the image blur. And instead of gray image deleting, we are going to delete the blur image. Then we are going to copy this again and paste it, and this one will be for your canny. So edge, and then we are going to copy the code for the edge detector, and we will replace it with the blur part, and here we are going to change it to canny, and we will change this to canny as well. So we will save this, and the rest of the code we can pretty much delete. And here, this is the part, this part here actually we can keep here at the top. So this is the part that will run for the very first time. It will show the image and it will delete the image so that it does not allocate to the memory. And then we can remove all of these. And now you can see we have 4 parts. Each one of these are separate. It will create the images and delete the images. So here we are getting a problem. Image gray. Oh, we are cloning the wrong ones. Okay, so we need to copy. So here we have to write image blur. So we are cloning the image blur, and here we have to write image canny. So we are cloning it to image canny. So that is the main idea. And what we can do here is we can write RGB button, or let's put a different heading so that it's easier to see what's going on. So we can write here RGB button, and then we can put these. There you go. And then we have the gray scale button, and then we have the blur button, and then we have the edge button. So there you go, we have the 4 buttons, and let's go ahead and see if it works. So we'll go to our image, we will refresh, and nothing happens. Uncaught. Image canny is not defined, so we made a mistake somewhere. So image canny, so here, oh, we are displaying image canny, we need to display image main. So let's save that, and we will open it again, and there you go. So now we can close this part. So this is our Photoshop. We'll click on RGB, nothing will happen because it's already RGB. We'll click on gray and it becomes grayscale. We'll click on blur and it becomes blur. We will click on the star and it will give us the edges. And if we click on the RGB, it should go back to RGB, and it did not. So let's see what happened there. So RGB button. Okay, so image main is supposed to be here. So you have to display image main. So when you're copy pasting code, these mistakes, they do happen. It's not a big deal. Okay, so let's put on edge and go back to RGB. Contrast, blur, RGB again, edge detector, grayscale, blur, RGB again. There you go. So this is perfect. Now our Photoshop is working. Very minimalistic Photoshop, very basic, very easy to follow. So this was our Photoshop project. So as you can see, it is very simple to follow, and using these basics, you can create a lot of big projects. And we are going to look at a lot of advanced projects later on in this course.